Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to possibly the last chapter of Chasing the Dragon. I'm not sure. We'll see how this one goes. Maybe there's one more installation or installment, I should say, of this topic. But I'm gonna try and get it all into one, and this may go a little bit longer. Like I said, we'll see how it goes. There's an old saying that you can never go home, and when it comes to this hobby and this topic, it really is hard to go back to that nostalgic feeling and recapture the feeling, the joy of your first games, your first campaign, your first step into this giant hobby that we all find ourselves in these days, or newer gamers. Obviously, you're in the golden age. Enjoy it while you can, because it doesn't last forever, and eventually you will find yourself reminiscing and longing for days gone by of those first great games, and we've talked about it, for several episodes and elsewhere on the interwebs. And while you can't go home, you can go forward, and I'd like to talk about a few things that we can do, especially us grognards that are longing for the feeling, the high, literally, that we once experienced when we first got into this hobby, our first character, or our first group, or our first campaign of whatever RPG it is that you were drawn to and attracted to and played, that made you realize you wanted to make this a part of your life, playing these silly games of elves with sticks. And a good friend of mine who I just talked to earlier this evening was talking about running a game for family, and for someone who he had always dreamed of running games for. And that is, I think, how we go forward with this, is instead of trying to recapture that feeling, we're now tasked, I believe. That reminds me of another friend of mine who suggested that we're now experiencing something of what Conan must have felt like at the end of his career. He'd done all the things, fought all the battles, and now was consigned, he and Cole, honestly, to sit on the throne and to be the Lord, and to be the king, and to send other people forth to do what he no longer could, not necessarily because he was physically incapable of it, but because life and circumstances had brought him to a place in life that he'd always dreamed about, but now railed against the constraints of the crown and the throne and courtly duties. Us grognards, it's now, I think, incumbent on us to try and, a lot of people, say, we can't bring new people into the hobby, and we the hobby is dying, and things like that. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think it's now our time and our place to bring new people in to the hobby, to teach the next generation of players, to encourage new games and new experiences for new people who are just now ready for this great big hobby of ours, to experience their first games, and to find their own group of peers that they can play with. And I believe it's our job, at least some of us, to educate them and teach them and show them all the great things that encompass this hobby, and to show them how much fun it is, why we've been doing this for the years that we've been doing it, why we still play these silly games of elves with sticks, and to encourage them to go out and find their own adventures when they're at the table. Obviously, in life, in the real world, they will also find their own adventures in their own way, and stumble and fall. But we get to, obviously, and unfortunately, and with some satisfaction, get to live vicariously through them. I think it's the only real way that we can finally catch the dragon, and then tame that dragon, and then release it on our unsuspecting younger, players, and show them, and run those games for them, knowing what we know now. Because let's be honest, in the early days, everybody was winging it. Everybody was flying by the seat of their pants, not knowing what could and couldn't be done in the hobby, what could be done at the table, what was okay, what was not okay. We now have the benefit of, for the most part, 50 years of experience, and we stand on the shoulders of the greats, the giants, and we get to now Dungeon Master, Game Master, host games for people with experience that they didn't have. Even Gygax himself was winging it until he wasn't, and then when he wasn't with us anymore. And if he had lived, a few more years, he'd get to see all these videos and YouTubers and professional game masters, etc., using all his lessons and learning from all his mistakes and the mistakes of others. And we have that benefit of being able to run games that were better than the games we were in. How many of us were in some really, really, really bad games and learned some really bad habits that we're only now just breaking and learning from those mistakes, and we can pass that knowledge on with the benefit of having learned from not just our own mistakes, but the mistakes of others. And especially with our fellow YouTubers out there, we get to learn from them as well. And then when we host a game for a group of new players, regardless of age, we can run a game better than they ran for us. I know I am constantly learning new things and correcting myself from making the same mistakes that my previous game masters made, or even I made some horrible mistakes, some horrible ways of running games, and some things that I'm hoping I'll never do in the future, especially if I'm running a game for new players. That's I think where I'm not going to say our responsibilities, but where our future path will probably lead most of us that want to continue on this hobby, is to go out there and run games better than the games we experienced, better than the horrible games that we were in with the penny pinching skinflint DMs who ran the NPCs like the star of the show, and all the other mistakes that we made in the past. You can go check out Seth Skorkowski's Game Master Sins that every one of us did. And those of you who say you didn't, you're full of shit. I don't believe it. You probably just don't realize the grievous things and mistakes you've made, because I know I've made them, and I've been doing this longer than anybody I know. And I'm hoping that over the course of this year and years going forward, the many that I have left, that when I get to run a game for new players, regardless of their age and their experience, that I will do my absolute best to run the best game I can for them and leave them with something that they will in turn share with their children, their friends, their fellow gamers, so that from this point on, from 2026, let's make it the year of game mastering for the youngins, for the newbies, for the greenhorns, and cut out some of the crap that we had to go through, that we had to suffer through. Don't make them, well, that's the way that's the way we did it in the past, so that's the way they got to do it too. No. Make it better. Make them anxious and eager and sitting on the edge of their seat, waiting for the next game. Excuse me, and looking forward to the next game, like we did, and have something special when they leave the table, and you know, when you left them on that cliffhanger, they cannot wait to get back to that game. They think about it all week long, or all day, or however long it is in between games, and understand that that's how you catch the dragon. You catch the dragon, you make it your minion, and then you set it loose on the next generation, knowing full well that if they play their cards right, they'll be doing the same for generations to come. So that's what I've got for you guys today. I hope you guys have a great week. I had a great weekend. I want to hear about your weekend. I want to hear about your games. I want to keep the conversation going, but maybe move it along into something else, but not something that we've beat to death, because there's a lot of that going on, and I'm kind of tired of that. I want to hear the stories. I want to hear what you guys do in your games, and I want you guys to go and have those games that you want to talk about, to anybody who will listen. So have a great week. I will see you guys tomorrow, 2 more videos. I'll see some of you tonight because it's Monday, even though it's not, but it is for you guys. Just remember that this is after all still just a game, and games are meant to be shared. So until next time, happy trails.